Government corruption has never been more prevalent or caused more harm. It's why extremism is on the rise. It's why the financial gap between the haves and have-nots has never been wider. And it's why our planet is at risk of an extinction level tragedy. That's why I need your help to keep exposing the truth about the rot on both sides of the aisle. Become a supporter or a friend of the show today by clicking on the coffee link in the description box below. Friends of the show join me on a Zoom hangout once a month, and you guys can ask me any questions you want, and I can get to know you better. But the most important reason to help is to keep the show alive. Together, we can and will save our country and our planet. Thanks in advance and enjoy the show. Hey, everyone, welcome to the show. So the plot is thickening, widening. The cover up is just so blatant at this point. First, we had the conveniently deleted Secret Service text messages. Then we find out that the text messages of Donald Trump's acting Homeland Security Secretary, his acting Deputy Secretary, and the former Secret Service director were also deleted. The text messages of Chad Wolf, Ken Cuccinelli, and Randolph Tex Als, I believe is how you pronounce his name, Als or Ailes, they just so happen to have been lost in another reset of their government phones. And the Inspector General for the Department of Homeland Security apparently knew about these deleted messages as well. And he didn't bother to tell anyone or launch an investigation. DHS Inspector General Joseph Kufari has known about this since February of this year. And not only did he not say anything about the deletion of these government records, which is something that's in direct violation of the Federal Records Act, but he also stopped his team from collecting the Secret Service phones to try to obtain those deleted messages. We also now know that he knew about the deleted Secret Service text messages all the way back in May of last year, May of 2021. So he told the January 6th committee that he didn't find out about them until December of last year. But there's several sources who have come forward now, and they told CNN that Kufari was notified about it months before. Former Trump security official Olivia Troy also told CNN, quote, "You kind of know where people's loyalties lie." And quote, "There's a reason that I went very public with my concerns about the Trump administration rather than going through the traditional whistleblower process, which would have led me to the Inspector General's office at DHS." So she's flat out saying, I knew what he was going to do. Troy also confirmed what others have said about the Trump administration, that they regularly used encrypted messaging apps. So she said, it's likely there aren't even any text messages to obtain. And understand, using those apps, meaning that these apps are not just encrypted, but the messages delete after you send them. That would also be a violation of the Federal Records Act. And now, two whistleblowers have come forward, and they're telling Congress that the IG's office was planning to obtain DHS devices. And they were going to have data specialists attempt to retrieve those deleted messages. But later in that same month, when they made that decision, IG Kufari, his office, decided against it. There's a former senior executive with the IG's office who told the Washington Post that Kufari's office contacted them, whoever this person is. They're remaining anonymous, but they said at the beginning of this year, they were contacted by his staff and they were told to, quote, stand down in regard to forensics work on Secret Service phones. So clearly, Troy's concerns about the Inspector General were well-founded. And so now he's under investigation. The Inspector General is now also under investigation. And Chad Wolf seems to be trying to deflect blame for his missing texts. He posted on Twitter and said, quote, "I complied with all data retention laws and returned all my equipment fully loaded to the department. Full stop. DHS has all my texts, emails, phone logs, schedules, etc. Any issues with missing data needs to be addressed to DHS." Remember, Wolf is the guy who wanted to withhold intelligence reports in July of 2020 because he thought that they would embarrass Trump. Thanks to a whistleblower with DHS, we know that they drafted a report which was warning about Russia's intent to promote, quote, allegations about the poor mental health of Joe Biden in an effort to help Trump win the 2020 election. And DHS IG, the one who's under investigation, this Kufari guy, he actually investigated allegations that Chad Wolf held up the release of that report for months, and then he altered its contents. He added a section, this is Chad Wolf, added a section saying that China and Iran were trying to sabotage Trump's reelection. That wasn't in the initial report. In fact, IG Kufari issued a report of his findings, which in part read, quote, the acting secretary participated in the review process multiple times, despite lacking any formal role in reviewing the product, resulting in the delay of its dissemination on at least one occasion. The delays and deviation from the Office of Intelligence and Analysis standard process and requirements put the office at risk of creating a perception of politicization. A perception of politicization. Yeah. And the whistleblower, who happens to be a former Homeland Security employee, this man named Brian Murphy, he said in a television interview that Wolf and Cuccinelli purposely hid, quote, anything that made the president look bad. Murphy claimed, quote, from the moment I arrived, three main topics that would draw the ire of the administration, anything to do with white supremacy, Russian disinformation, and the Southwest border. And he said that they didn't just try to ignore the intelligence or the issues. He said, quote, it was to manipulate the intelligence to fit that political narrative. They did not only not want things to come out, but shape it in a way that would support the president's objectives. And he specifically called out Wolf and Cuccinelli. He said, quote, so I was told by virtually all the senior departmental officials, Chad Wolf, Ken Cuccinelli, and many others, I'm ordering you to change the outcome of these products. The intelligence products we would do, and I told them many times that I would not do that. And if they kept the pressure up, I would go to Congress or use the whistleblower path to make sure it was addressed. And then Murphy went on to say that a threat assessment regarding white supremacy was held up for months by Wolf and Cuccinelli and others because they insisted on numerous changes. And then the reason they gave Murphy was, quote, because of the president's statement in Charlottesville and more, as the spring and summer of 2020 went along, as it related to the murder of George Floyd and other things in that time era, it would make the president look bad. And Murphy said that those were their exact words. And he agreed that a failure to provide accurate and timely information about white supremacists and anti-government extremists most likely negatively impacted preparations for January 6th. And this Murphy guy isn't some leftist, liberal, anti-Trumper. He refers to himself as a conservative Republican, and he voted for Trump. So Wolf and Cuccinelli are vile, soulless Trump puppets who cannot be trusted to tell the truth. They don't give a damn about our country. They covered up for Trump while they were working in the White House, and I have no doubt that's why their text messages were conveniently reset, deleted. As for the issues with Kufari, I'm sorry, but I blame Joe Biden. His refusal to see today's Republican Party with clear eyes is costing all of us. Kufari should have been removed on day one of Biden's presidency, along with a ton of other Trump loyalists. You know, Kufari was installed by Trump in 2019, and he's a former advisor to Trump suck-up Doug Ducey. Why would you ever trust him? So this is just a shit show. I really hope that Merrick Garland wakes the fuck up and realizes this is beyond anything that we've ever experienced before. You cannot allow this to stand. You have to take this man down. Anyway, guys, when and if I hear more, I'll let you know. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.